South Africa's inflation expectations are at their lowest in 4 years. That's according to the BER second quarter survey. Respondents, which include business people, trade union officials and financial analysts, expect inflation to average 3.9% in 2025. That's down from 4.4% in the previous quarter. The improved outlook could ease pressure on the Reserve Bank ahead of its next policy meeting and set the scene for a possible rate cut. Government, meanwhile, has rejected the SA Reserve Bank Amendment Bill, which would allow the SARB to be fully owned by the state. National Treasury says the government has fundamental objections to the bill, and those are based on, among others, constitutionality, lack of detail on funding and cost implications, its potential impact on future investment, as well as the economy and jobs. The bill, introduced by EFF leader Julius Malema in 2018, is also said to not align with the government's current policy objectives and funding priorities. Sun International and Piermont have called off their deal. Sun International had intended to acquire Peermont, but the move faced regulatory challenges. In October last year, the Competition Commission recommended to the Competition Tribunal that the transaction be blocked, given that it would substantially prevent and lessen competition in the gambling industry. The tribunal was set to hear arguments on the matter on the 2nd of October, but that's past the deal's long stop date of September the 15th, and so both Sun International and Piermont have agreed to walk away from the proposed tie-up. Bytes Technology expects first half gross profit to be at a similar level to last year's and operating profit to be marginally lower. But the firm, which specializes in software security, cloud and AI services, expects more normalized growth in both metrics in the second half. Trading across the first months of the year was affected by a challenging macroeconomic environment, leading to some deferral of customer buying decisions, particularly in the corporate sector. Bytes says it will give an update on full-year guidance at the time of its interim results in October. Blue Label says talks around a possible group restructure are still ongoing. The plan aimed at unlocking value for shareholders is being developed with the group's financial advisors. It will need board, shareholder and regulatory approval. Blue Label's advised investors to continue exercising caution when trading in the company's shares. Southern Palladium is a step closer to developing its Bengwenyama Platinum project. The company says the objection period for its environmental authorization has closed and that no objections were lodged. That brings the approval process to a close and clears the way for a mining right. The project is held through Southern Palladium's subsidiary, Miracle Upon Miracle Investments. In international news, the United States could reach a trade deal with India that would help American companies compete in the South Asian country and leave it facing far lower tariffs, casting doubt on a possible deal with Japan. Here's more detail in this report.
With 1 week to go before his deadline for trade deals, Donald Trump is feeling hopeful about talks with at least one major country.
I think we're going to have a deal with India, possibly. And that's going to be a different kind of a deal. It's going to be a deal where we're able to go in and compete. Right now, India doesn't accept anybody in. I think India is going to do that. And if they do that, we're going to have a deal for much less tariffs.
The US president spoke to reporters on Air Force One on Tuesday. He said he wasn't thinking about extending the July 9th deadline for agreements. And he again expressed doubt about a deal with Japan.
They and others are so spoiled from having ripped us off for 30, 40 years, that it's really hard for them to make a deal. You know, it's very hard.
Trump said Japan had refused to take American rice, despite having a shortage of the staple grains. And he said Tokyo had been unfair more broadly, citing its big trade surplus in cars as evidence. The president said he could impose a 35% tariff on the country, or well above the 24% he announced in April and then paused. Earlier Tuesday, Japan's chief cabinet secretary said Tokyo would continue talking to Washington, but would not sacrifice its agriculture sector in order to get a deal. India's foreign minister said this week that talks were at an intricate stage. Sticking points are thought to include duties on car parts, steel and farm goods.
And earlier today, Qantas announced that a cyber hacker broke into a database containing the personal information of millions of customers, marking Australia's biggest breach in years and a setback for an airline rebuilding trust after a reputational crisis. Let's take a look for more detail.
Qantas says 6 million customer accounts have been exposed in a cyber attack. The Australian airline said Wednesday that a hacker targeted a call centre and gained access to a third-party customer service platform. That contained data including names, email addresses, birth dates and more. Qantas didn't disclose the location of the call centre but says it acted immediately after detecting the breach. Last week, the US Federal Bureau of Investigation said cybercrime group Scattered Spider was targeting airlines. It said Hawaiian Airlines and Canada's WestJet had already reported attacks, though it wasn't clear Wednesday whether the same group was also behind the new incident. The hack could hardly come at a worse moment for Qantas, which has been trying to win back public trust after a series of controversies. That includes a legal ruling that it illegally sacked thousands of ground staff during the COVID pandemic. The airline also had to admit selling thousands of tickets for flights it knew it had already cancelled. Such incidents have seen it tumble down airline and brand league tables. On Wednesday, shares in the company were off more than by mid-afternoon following news of the hack.